лекцию в рамках 15-го юбилейного IT-форума с участием стран БРИКС и ШОС. Рад приветствовать вас на секции «Пространственные данные. Цифровая реальность».
With BRICS and SEO participation, I'm happy to greet you at our breakout session, the new digital real. And I give the floor to Deputy Governor of the Khanty-Mansiysk Autonomous Okrug Yugra, who is in charge of roadworks, construction, and other activities. Thank you very much, dear forum participants. Welcome to Yugra. This is our traditional annual IT forum. I'm happy that despite the generally challenging situation in the country, the number of our participants is only growing, and colleagues from former USSR countries as well as other foreign countries are joining us. Today, we have gathered here to discuss a really relevant topic, which is very important for our residents. The name spatial data seems complicated, but this is primarily about changing the quality of life of our citizens and residents of the countryside. Here in Yugra, this is particularly important because only 15 or 20 years ago, almost no Russians considered Yugra as a place for permanent residence. Mostly people would come here temporarily to work here for a while and then leave and live somewhere in a warmer place in the south. But now an increasing number of people believe this to be the permanent residence place. We have a good migration inflow, and our investments in our industry are also growing. It's the best performance in the country if we take non-Muslim regions. We and Yamal have the best natural increase of the population, which is a huge responsibility for us because it means we need to provide the adequate life quality for our people, and we are trying to achieve that. Speaking generally about what we do here in Yugra, so we have a lot of accumulated problems with urban environment, and we need to solve these problems with efficient cutting-edge tools. Continuing the subject of efficient tools, we were talking about comprehensive territory development. Many regions were asking for that, and this program was launched in Moscow, our capital. It proved to be efficient, so the federal legislation embraced the regional initiative. So now we have all the necessary tools to work on these problems. So our situation is objectively one of the most complicated in the country, partially because of the Soviet past, when people would come here by rotation and then leave. We have about 3 million square meters of accommodation, which is in the red zone, so to say. These are Soviet time wooden houses that are currently not comfortable enough as accommodation. As for dilapidated housing, we have more than 1 million square meters of such accommodation. However, we were implementing a targeted national program, resettling residents of such dilapidated housing, and Yugra is the leader by the number of people who were accommodated. And our trend is also the best in the country, except for Yamal. But in Yamal, the numbers are smaller. The absolute numbers are smaller. So generally, in our region, we are implementing this program as its operators. We are confident that this program needs to be fine-tuned. Nevertheless, we have identified about 30 territories in the region, and we signed comprehensive development contracts for some of these territories, and in other cases we are working on signing such agreements. The first real comprehensive development project was implemented in Surgut by a company called Brusnica that partnered with the municipal team and with the regional authorities. And that's where the first such project was implemented. It was based on re-accommodating residents of dilapidated housing, and the second responsibility of the developer was to provide a certain amount of square meters of accommodation to social purpose housing. And generally, they used very modern approaches recommended by the Ministry of Construction of the Russian Federation. It concerns parking spaces and urban environment and pedestrian walks between residential houses. And you can see that convenient parking spaces are provided along the road, and there are green trees and bushes, and the investor assumed all these responsibilities. It's also an interesting project in terms of architecture. You can see spatial public spaces, large public spaces, and we, on our side, we make sure to provide the necessary social facilities for the residents. So you can see that all the advanced trends of urban environment have been implemented here. Another example, we can look at Megion. That's a municipality that also started actively implementing this comprehensive territorial development program. Let me go back a few slides. This is also an interesting project. Megion has a lot of dilapidated housing whose residents need to be resettled. The developer also assumed this responsibility. I think about 5,000 square meters of accommodation had to be provided to residents of dilapidated houses. And in terms of the urban environment, it's not as good as in the previous example because it's a local developer, not a federal level one, but still something was done in that respect. The next project was in Khanty-Mansiysk. We haven't yet signed the contract, and the acting governor suspended all such projects for a while because we want to dive into them and check them. This is not only about municipal level, it's also about improving the life quality of Yugra residents generally. So we want to make sure that our partners, developers, assume most of the obligations in terms of providing social facilities, and it's good that developers are currently ready to assume such obligations. And over the past 2 weeks, there have been many applicants, companies who are ready to invest in our region and build houses here. And this is because investors understand their potential. And it has been announced in mass media and during meetings with local residents. It has been announced that we will try to influence these processes and start working on these projects. So in terms of dilapidated housing in Khanty-Mansiysk, the developer did not assume the responsibility to provide any social housing, but they did assume responsibilities on creating a public space, a garden square between the 2 houses, which will be available to all city residents. This is also an interesting practice because public spaces need beautification, and generally Khanty-Mansiysk needs to improve its urban environment. It's one of our priorities that we will continue to pursue. As for comprehensive territorial development in Khanty-Mansiysk, Our team has been doing it actively, and some of our regional authorities are already working on several projects, and municipal authorities, regional authorities are involved in these projects at different levels. And we participate in such projects not only in terms of ideological support, but also financial. We are going to provide the tools to help developers really implement these comprehensive development projects for the benefit of the residents, because everyone has a very different understanding. If we look at municipalities, at advanced cities like Khanty-Mansiysk, Surgut, Nizhny-Vartovsk, Neftejugansk, and Nyagan, these are the top cities of our region with well-developed residential market. They have very different views. Everyone understands that comprehensive development is not building about high-rise buildings with only a kindergarten and a school nearby. We're talking about a completely different urban environments. But in municipalities where they haven't yet reached this level, municipalities that are not yet mature enough have slightly different approaches. There are several municipalities in hard-to-reach areas which you cannot regularly reach by car, which of course affects construction projects. Historically, there have been no high rises there, but now we are actively working with such municipalities to make sure there are at least mid-rise residential estates with social facilities and public spaces and non-residential ground floors with all sorts of shops, cafes, and so on. Everything that we are already accustomed to now, but for hard-to-reach territories, this is still something new. However, Beloyarsk is an example of such a city with a very active team, and Beloyarsk is #1 by the quality of urban environment. And when you come to Beloyarsk, it looks like these trends have been there for a long time. It's a very green city, a very convenient city, although it's almost beyond the Arctic Circle. So that's our approach to comprehensive development of territories. And as for digitization, it's clear that, of course, you can implement such projects manually, but you do need other approaches to determining the locations, the land plots for construction, and it's difficult to do that without digital data. Of course, you can build maps and you can shuffle through paper maps, but it's not very efficient. So we are working with the Department of Digital Technologies and with other authorities regarding land plots that will be involved in that. And we are now ready to create a digital twin of the city. Khanty-Mansiysk will be our pilot project, and we are currently developing the terms of reference. And we are working at the pre-development stage, using our territorial authorities and promising partners who are ready to work on that with us, including leading Russian educational institutions and the High School of Economics and other universities. So we are actively working on that. I'm sure you already understand why we need that. We want to create a real, true-to-life digital twin of a city with all utilities digitized, not just some elementary things that we call a digital twin if we call it a digital twin if a city has merely digitized some rules and standards, or at best created a 3D model of buildings through various kinds of aerial photography. But no, that's not what we're talking about. We want to digitize all overground and underground utilities and public transport and video surveillance cameras and various services used by commercial companies, data from mobile operators, banks, that will all be within a unified digital system. What effect can we expect in the future? We have a very practical task. We want to stop performing some functions currently performed by hundreds of municipal and regional officials, public officials. We want to create this algorithm so that eventually these decisions regarding urban utilities would be made automatically. For example, if we look at public transport stops, it seems simple, but transport stops affect millions of people. Where should we build a public bus stop, for example? You need to calculate the availability and accessibility of various social facilities and residences. Currently, this is done manually, but it's hard to do without feedback. Currently, it's just a human, a certain professional who simply takes into account the rules and regulations about the road and traffic network and so on. But in our case, we want to look not at the existing rules and legislative limitations, but a common sense approach. And digital services would do it best. The same concerns schools and other social facilities, because the budget is never enough to build schools and so on. And it's not our problem. I think it's a universal problem all over the world. Our resources are always limited. There is always a shortage. So it's about prioritizing the spending of urban teams, and we want to be using information from national projects and national targets and so on. But primarily, we want to improve the life quality of specifically citizens of Khanty-Mansiysk in our case. We want public transport to run frequently enough. We want to prevent road accidents, everything that has to do with everyday life in a city. This should all happen much faster. We want to optimize the public transportation operation and intervals, and it's best to work on that using digital data. Of course, we would need artificial intelligence for that. And this will probably be one of the first in Russia, even though many other cities are already working fast to achieve this target. But this is about ambition. Managing the city and the utilities based on digital data and artificial intelligence. This is a challenging task, but I'm certain that our municipal team, in cooperation with the governmental team, will be able to solve that. So that's about projects of comprehensive urban territories development. These are the two priorities we are currently pursuing. Thank you very much. Thank you for the detailed presentation. Indeed, I recently took part in an extended meeting of the Ministry of Construction of the Russian Federation, and the Khanty-Mansiysk Autonomous okrug is among the leaders in comprehensive territorial development. I'll just ask you a short question. Have you created a regional operator in your region? If not, are you planning to? Currently, we are considering and discussing the possibility of creating a regional operator. Most probably, we will involve regional operators in large-scale comprehensive territorial development projects. We are discussing it, and it's on our agenda. There will be a lot of work to be done, and a regional operator would be useful. Thank you very much. Next, we are planning to listen to Maxim Mikhailovich, who will talk about implementing a pilot project in Khanty-Mansiysk about creating a digital twin. Maxim Mikhailovich, the floor is yours.
Добрый день, коллеги. Слышно, да?
Good afternoon, colleagues.
Собственно, мы являемся разработчиком платформы «Цифровой двойник города» и делаем...
We are developing a digital twin of our city in Khanty-Mansiysk.
Что такое цифровой двойник города?
So what is a digital twin of the city? It's a virtual model of a city urban infrastructure with semantically interconnected systems, all urban systems. What is a modern city? It consists of numerous layers, above ground and underground. And they are for example, if we take a single residential house and we start looking at it, it turns out that more than 20 different agencies and systems and platforms have information about the same house, the same building. So it's a single facility, but there are 20 agencies and authorities in charge of that. It makes decision-making difficult, and it has bad consequences like mistakes and errors. For example, you can build a residential neighborhood in a city, and you soon find out that there aren't enough schools or the roads are too narrow, and so on, and other problems that we face in every city. And we need to make decisions based on data, so that we could take decisions not with limited data, but once we can model a situation, simulate it. For example, when you can predict what happens if you build this or that, if you install a traffic lights here or there, and you can then see what happens before you do it. And if one of the agencies makes a decision, all other agencies will see what happens there. For example, if I want to, for example, change the road surface, everyone will see what will happen. We selected three pilot areas in Khanty-Mansiysk, and we are testing data aggregation from all sources, and we have various modules. So this is the list of data that we tried to collect. And so we collected data from private companies, federal level agencies, and so on. We wanted to collect data from everyone, from all sources and just describe a facility completely. And of course, we wanted integration with all urban utilities, besides historical data. For example, when you can see that steel pipes were laid here, and you can see the pressure and the diameter of the pipe. But we also need real-time data about, for example, flow meters and so on. And we want to integrate this data into our system. So this is one of the districts. First of all, we digitized the spatial data, all overground facilities like streets, roads, buildings, with the accuracy of 2 or 3 centimeters, including all of the, everything that's above ground. Then we digitized underground utilities, all underground utilities, everything that's located below ground. Then we accessed geological archives and included this data too. So this is not just a picture. There are several layers with everything from a geological survey included in this image. And you can look at any layer you like. So after we digitized this spatial data, it turned out that there are some conflicts and conflicting data about the location of utilities and intersections and so on. And it would be impossible to check all these intersection points physically, but with models, it's easier to check all that electronically, and the system will can just tell you, for example, that this is incorrect, this cannot happen. For example, this intersection point is unrealistic, and it means we can check it specifically. And then the most important thing is modules for solving specific tasks. For example, we are developing a module for a digital master plan, and there are several examples of modules. We have, for example, one module is for work planning. For example, when we are repairing a road, we select a section of the road. We can immediately see what utilities are under the surface and how many accidents happened with these utilities. So in our model can predict that with 80 or 90% probability, this utility or this pipe is going to have an accident. And this shows you that you will have to repair the road, for example, in 2 years, and you can get an estimate. So if you want to repair only the surface today, you can repair the underground utilities now instead of 2 years later, and that saves you a lot of cost. Next is environmental monitoring, where we can use road surveillance system to build this pollution map. For example, here at this road intersection, you can see an example, but you can do it for the entire city. You calculate the number of vehicles, the types, the road, how the area of roads, how heavy the traffic is. So you can perform this environmental monitoring citywide, and you can see how to solve these problems. As for the traffic, also here you can see bus stops, because currently we only use government standards to do the calculations and determine where to locate a bus stop. But in fact, the government standards are not always accurate. And sometimes if there is no pedestrian crossing, the distance to a bus stop can still be too long, even if we comply with the standards. So after we upload all this data into the model, we can build pedestrian routes the way people actually walk, following their paths. And for example, we can see that there are two social facilities in this district with bus stops too far away. And it's uncomfortable for residents to reach them. So this system can tell you where to locate a bus stop to make it much more comfortable to reach this bus stop. Then we can also look at traffic accidents statistics. We have information about the road quality. We know how many times a certain road was repaired. We have traffic accident statistics, and we can build correlations to understand, for example, that if snow was not removed frequently enough, the number of traffic accidents increases. And this model can show us what to do. BI system is aimed at territorial analytics. It can analyze what facilities exist in the territory, how many people live there, what kind of schools and kindergartens are available, and all the green plants, trees, and other things that contribute to a convenient urban environment. And the system also highlights what's missing and offers specific solutions. For example, this territory lacks commercial space, and there is an empty space, and you can build a commercial or a social facility here with a certain area and with certain performance indicators and features. And the last module we've been working on is the module of comprehensive territory development, where we took the downtown with some dilapidated ancient housing, and having selected a territory, we firstly immediately received all data regarding this territory, the area of existing facilities, the amount of dilapidated housing, the amount of new housing, and the number of substations with the corresponding power pipelines, and so on. And the model immediately calculated, based on this algorithm, the model calculated what can be built in this area, how many residential houses can be built in this area instead of the old dilapidated houses, to comply with the regulations concerning the number of floors and so on. How many commercial facilities will need to be built, how many schools, kindergartens, and hospitals are available, and their current occupancy rate. And if such facilities are lacking, we need to build a certain number of schools, hospitals, and residences, and so on. This model doesn't yet provide us with architectural solutions or layouts with parks and roads, but I'm sure we will make this possible in the nearest future. Thank you.
Желаю вам только успехов. Очень рада, что это наши коллеги из Турции. Они. Спасибо, Максим. Это переводчик для Турции переводит. Хотел, кстати, отметить, что у нас вот коллеги сегодня в продолжении актуальности.
Our colleagues are continuing this topic. Our colleagues from Turkey will be doing from that, and thank you very much for your presentation. We will pass the floor for the next presenter. We will talk about the Republic of Kazakhstan. There will be the representative of municipal civil engineering of Kyrgyz Republic. So the floor is yours. You can speak from your place. Thank you, dear participants. Dear participants of the forum, allow me to greet all of you here at the Global IT Forum, and I would like to express my gratitude for having me here, and I would like to share with you some of my experience about digitalization and about investments which we have in Kyrgyz Republic. At the moment, we try to attract investments, and to do so, we conducted different changes in our licensing, in our norms of licensing, and it used to be 23 documents you had to receive before getting a license, and now you have only 6 documents. Apart from that, we have this automated system of licensing which is being developed, and it cut down on the time of expecting when you will get a license. Instead of three months or up to 2 years, you can receive everything within 15 days. Besides, from last year, we've been automating different processes in the building area, in the civil engineering and construction. And right now we will have to put all these systems together and work out a unified system of applying documents. This is the so-called system one window, when you have only one place where you submit all your applications, and this program sends it later on to other departments, and all documents are processed from the viewpoints, for example, of transparency. All of them are in the electronic format, and then all your documents are processed in digital form, and the conclusions are also given to you in the digital form. So when you have received a permission from the building authorities, then we will conduct all this information. We put all this information on the electronic map, and we have a map of all objects. So right now, every citizen can address that map and have a look whether the building is legal or illegal. You can check everything by yourself. And during the years of our independence, we've received different amounts of investments. For example, in 2023, there were 27 billion soms, and over 1,000 buildings were supposed to be created. Last year, we commissioned 210 buildings, and it is 7 times more than during the previous years. And you can see the rate of growth of civil engineering and construction in our country, and you can see that it is 4.8% on the post-Soviet state, while in Kyrgyzstan we have 47.3% growth. So we have huge growth in our republic. And I would like to tell you about the largest infrastructural objects. Like here you can see building of a soccer stadium for 45,000 seats. On the 6th of June, we started building it, and we plan to complete it within 2 years. It is built according to FIFA standards, and we have architects from Britain, Turkey, and the design is resembling our national symbols, our national building, yurt. Then we built a road over 433 kilometers, and it is going to link us with China as well. There is also an agreement on building the road from China to Kyrgyzstan to Uzbekistan. And here is a map of investment projects of Kyrgyz Republic. You have these places and all the investors can have a look at the opportunities we have. And that seems to be about it. Thank you for your attention. Thank you, Bakhtiyar. We are happy that you are developing that fast, and we wish you success in your development and to develop your building industry in this very fast way. And we will share our experience on digitalization with you. And now the floor is given to a representative of Turkey, Timuçin Bulnus. He will share his experience on his work in Republic of Turkey. Yeah. So Timuçin, the floor is yours.
I'm Timuçin Bulnus from Republic of Turkey Land Registry and Cadastry. Today I'll share our work, what we do in Cadastry. So I'll start with small short introduction with our services provided by Cadastry. There are many services we provide to the citizens, such as TACBIS, where you can find your registry information, and Maxis, where you can find the boundaries of your property, and parcel inquiry. And also Tsaga Active is a GPS infrastructure where we provide correct information to the citizens, users, and many more is in here. Today I'll talk about 3D Cadastry. As a map introduction, I work in a map introduction unit, and we generate orthophotos and 3D city models. For the photogrammetric production, there are several steps such as project planning, geodetic work, aerial image acquisition, and image processing. After that, we keep on with aerial triangulation and adjustment, data collection, orthophoto production, and finally we serve our product in online. And for this purpose, 3D city model, we need to do some cadastral work such as parcel boundaries, and we get help from the orthophotos for that. And this is how it looks on the orthophotos. Later on, we evaluate the what's called ground objects by using stereo evaluation. And in that case, we can have like correct boundaries of the buildings, roads, and many more objects on the ground. For production pace, we have some we create orthophotos and other maps by in the standard of ISO. And also we have some other regulation for our needs. And for the orthophotos, we produce 10 centimeter and 30 centimeter ground sampling distance. And for the 3D cadastral part, it starts with, I'll mention our goals. So there are many buildings, some of them are unregistered, and it doesn't have like any registration on our system. So we can basically detect those buildings and try to integrate it in our information system. And also it will help citizens, owners to to see and to visualize their exact property, where it's located and how does it look. And also there are many more information for real estate valuation. We also have all the information about the prices and its boundaries and coordinates for the exact property, and also it is integrated in spatial address registration system. So for the 3D cadastre, there are several steps. It starts with regular photogrammetric phases, like where we generate orthophoto, DSM, and point cloud. On the other side, there is a architectural project digitization, where we get building projects and we digitize them by using a CAD program. And then we create a 3D model by using the photogrammetric building model and architectural model. We just match the building IDs and we just fit the exact model where it needs to be on the real earth. And then finally we serve them online. This is another diagram for the process. So we produce the DSM orthophoto and point cloud, and then we use also oblique photographs to cover the building models. On the other side, we use building plans to vectorize it and build a model. And then we coordinate 3D models by using the same building ID with the photogrammetric model. And then we use the oblique images to cover building models to show the exact earth in real. Furthermore, we also have some enhancements for this work study for more sustainable environment. And finally, we just provide the new registries to the owners for the exact their exact right. So this is how the vector roof details look, and it's how it looks on the orthophotos. By using this information, we can generate the building roof, because building roofs are not attached in the building projects. So this is our final products for photogrammetric works. And then this is how the architectural model looks at the end. So for the enhancement, we serve the information online. So you can see the whole building in here, and also you have some attribute information related to building, and you can just go further and you can see the floor plans and also independent section plans separately. So this is floor plan, and later on you'll see independent section. So this is an independent section where you can identify the rooms, kitchen, living room, and more. Okay. So here are our teams where all the process you can find. So it's basically a guideline for you to just create from start to the end. So this is building projects. It is drawn on the CAD environment, and by using this tool, there is a extension. You can just visualize the building model just using this. So these are all floors drawn separately, and at the end you can see the final project before you upload to the system. In the process tracking application, you can find where you have the work to do. You can find the project model here, and then you can download the architectural projects and just upload it, and it just automatically verify if it's all correct. And also there is another tool, it's Max integration module, where there is information related to address. We just integrate this building model with the registered addresses. Also, this is how the website looks. It's basically the same thing as before. In here, there is a validation module. So you can just upload architectural GML and photogrammetric GML, so which tells you if it's correct and it is all good to serve online. This is the final project. So we integrated the sustainable environment with the sum of cities, and then we are just moving on to the enhancing the project to the whole country. And for the sustainability, we just we can see how the system works and how many buildings are registered, and we also classify the building. So for the sustainability, for the new buildings, just contractor need to apply for the registration, and then municipality does the first verification, and they just give an ID number, and then land registry and cadastre just verify it if it's all good, and we finally have provide the exact flat ownership to the owner. This is the pilot project, Amasya, where we start building this project. So for the Amasya pilot projects, we aim many things, such as like generation of 3D building models, establishment of national building model standard, identification and monitoring of existing building stock, and more on. So finally, we have over 20,000 photogrammetric models, over 3,000 architectural models, and 45,000 independent sections. And this is how our tracking process looks like. We just can see how many parcels are there, and number of models, number of buildings. Everything is in this table. And this is the project area. And for this step, we just register all independent sections differently and provide the exact information to the owners. So there are also some classes where you can find and identify and manage the city. For more on, there is also some classes where there are registered buildings, unregistered buildings, and public buildings. Also, that we provide some information related to real estate valuation, where there is a sales saved in our system, and we can just manage the city and everything related to properties. And here we also can just identify how many buildings are 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, and more. It helps to see and plan for the future. And for the city model. If you click on the building model, there is some information related to building, and it's all provided online. These are also some attribute information related to independent section. For example, if I see here, it says like registry meter square, it's 650 meter square. And for this kind of work, we cooperate with some of the institutions, for example, municipality and interior ministry. If you have further question, you can reach me with the email, and thank you for listening.
Очень интересный доклад. Я, к сожалению, при представлении вас забыл
That's a very interesting speech. Just in case, let me explain what is the land register and cadastre. It's the cadastre registration authority in the Republic of Turkey. It's similar to our cadastre authority. That's a very interesting project. So a question to you, optimistically, how many years will it take you to create such a cadastre for the entire Republic of Turkey?
Ну, хорошо, коллеги, мы этот вопрос отдельно уточним.
Okay, we can ask this question later. Thank you very much, Timuchin. And next, we give the floor to Mr. Elnurov, Deputy Minister and Minister of the Republic of Dagestan for Land Affairs, who will speak about implementing the national system of spatial data in the Republic of Dagestan, a complete and accurate register. The floor is yours. Thank you very much, dear colleagues. First of all, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to participate in this forum, and particularly I'm very grateful for your warm welcome and for a very high-level organization. I would also like to greet and deliver warm wishes of well-being from the leadership of the Republic of Dagestan. And today I'd like to share its experience of implementing the national Russian program, the National System of Spatial Data. Dear friends, starting from 2019, a project called Complete and Accurate Register was developed in Russia, and it involves creating such a register for all levels of authorities. Our first regional roadmaps were developed, but by the end of 2021, the government approved a governmental program of the Russian Federation because it was required to consolidate all areas of populating this information system with data and identifying the sources of funding, including the federal, regional, and local budgets, and set the unified targets for all regions. Within this state program, in August 2022, our national leader specified the action plan and target performance indicators until January 1, 2027. Of course, we try to achieve even more in Dagestan because we used to have very low levels of populating the unified register of real estate with data. We had no registered owners for many real estate properties by 2021. In the countryside, up to 80% of properties had no established owners or borders. In some cases, borders got intersected, they were entered incorrectly, and so on. So we paid particular attention to these issues. We held several important meetings with the management of Rosregister, the Russian National Register, and we developed a clear collective actions. Specifically, Dagestan was one of the pilot projects on creating the national system of spatial data, and at the time it was the only Caucasus Republic that took part in this at the time when Dagestan was included in this list. But now there are more pilot projects. The key areas of project implementation are specified here. You can now see them on the screen. These are the so-called target indicators. Of course, we first identified the necessary organizational actions, created the steering committee. We developed a roadmap and held workshops with local authorities. We audited all regional information systems. Two of our systems were approved by Rosregister and selected as pilot systems for interaction with the state-level information system, the Unified Digital Platform. And according to the signed agreement, this digital platform will be populated by Dagestan's data and data from various other platforms in Dagestan. Let me say a few words about the results we achieved about populating the Unified State Register of Real Estate. The borders of municipal formations and entering data about them into the register was a problem for our Republic of Dagestan for many years. Out of 763 municipal formations, only 9 had their borders entered into the register in 2020, but by January 1 of the current year, we entered data about 727 borders into the register, thus meeting our targets. As we were entering these borders, it transpired that certain borders were incorrectly described in the law and they needed adjustment. So there were some gaps that were not included into any municipal formations. And such wide gaps on the map generate shady dealings. In some cases, the municipal formations overlapped. And we were able to identify these problems, and we are going to solve them in the nearest future. We also had poor performance in terms of settlement borders. From 2016 to 2022, only 168 settlements had their borders entered into the register out of 1,632 settlements. And this meant that this generated land conflicts. We were able to enter borders of 311 settlements in 2023, and we added 152 more this year. And we are planning to enter even more borders of settlements. Next, looking at borders of territorial areas, it turned out that over the past 10 years, only 27 territorial zones had their borders entered into the register, which meant chaotic development without a clear territorial development plan, which definitely affected the development of key economic areas, especially tourism that has been growing in importance lately. It wasn't clear which facilities were going to build where and how they could develop. And even construction permits could not be issued in such circumstances. We were able to enter information about 2,904 territorial zones borders into the register, which is a huge achievement for us. And such performance would be impossible without well-orchestrated work by authorities of municipal formations and the Republican authorities. and we are focusing on it. We are providing the required funding. The state level national program made it possible for us to adopt our own Dagestan level program and populate the register with the required data. Almost all heads of municipalities complained of two problems: lack of professionals and lack of the funds to implement these actions. So what did we do? We created a competence center at the level of Dagestan to provide practical assistance to every municipal formation, and we assigned money from the Dagestan budget to fund such formations. So it was decided that 70% of the money would be provided from the budget of Dagestan and 30% would be provided from local budgets. Subsidies were provided, and the key criteria for subsidies was that the local authorities had to promise to complete the work on time and invest some of its own funds. This year alone, we spent almost 55 million rubles to fund 31 municipal formations. Another area where federal and regional level budgets are involved is comprehensive cadastral operations. It's free for all owners, including physical persons, who can have their borders checked. And we have a good experience in this area, and we are sharing this experience with the entire country. We are successfully populating the unified register of real estate with the necessary data. This year, we are going to complete such operations for more than 300,000 properties, and this is all completely free for residents of Dagestan. In 2024, 30 municipal formations and cities out of 52 take part in this project. We work in 172 cadastral neighborhoods. When we select areas for implementing this project, we want to implement all aspects of this program in every settlement, starting from aerial photography and up to identifying the landowners of all properties. So on the left is a list of what we offer to local authorities, and on the right are the responsibilities that municipalities need to assume. Eventually, it provides for efficient implementation, and the funds are spent effectively and for good purpose. Next, we are identifying the title owners of previously registered properties. I have already mentioned that about 700,000 properties in Dagestan had no title holders. And we were able to identify about 250,000 right holders, title holders, and sometimes we remove properties from the register if we identified double entries. Starting from this year, we have also started to work in another area. We monitored the properties that require state registration of right for municipal formations, and we have almost finished this work for regional properties. And now we are working on municipal properties. There are 2,553 such facilities, such properties, and we are planning to finish this work by the end of the year. We have already approved the action plan for every formation. In conclusion, I'd like to emphasize that the national program of spatial data is something we will have to work with in the future. There are no clear limits. And you can set endless numbers of tasks within this program. Once we have entered all data into the Unified National Register of Real Estate, we will have to check it and improve data quality and so on. We can confidently say that integration and the currently existing opportunities will make it possible to improve the procedure of providing state level and municipal services that will improve the quality of data, the quality of populating the register with data about the population will help investors select their investment venue. This map will provide useful information for investors, and if there are any overlaps with other areas, the system will offer the best option, and an investor will have all the necessary information about the land plot they're interested in. All this will work with high quality, high efficiency, and the register will be populated with the necessary data. I'm finished. Thank you for your attention. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you. Indeed, we know that you are very successful in implementing this project. Specifically, we know that last year you are contracting cadastral operations in Dagestan, and Rosregister is offering to roll out this practice. This enables us to achieve centralization, and this makes it possible to hold purchasing procedures for the entire scope and amount, and increase the number of properties that can be covered with this amount. Thank you for sharing this approach. Many regions, including the firm cry, they are using your experience. So thank you. And we are now moving on to the experience of digital transformation in the Kyrgyz Republic. And we will now listen to the head of digital transformation of Land Affairs and Cartography Agency of the Ministry of Republic of Kyrgyzstan. He will share his experience. This is also the cadastral authority, like our Rosregister, and our colleague is in charge of digitization there.
Good afternoon, dear participants of the IT Forum. I'm happy to greet you at this event, and I wish you fruitful work and successful projects. I would like to demonstrate to you the development of the national infrastructure of spatial data in Kyrgyzstan. Every year, the demand is growing for 3D data in different spheres of social and economic development. These systems are needed to make decisions in the sphere of protecting the environment, preventing the emergency situation, in the sphere of developing agriculture, in mapping the areas, and to create a unified database has certain difficulties, but we should overcome these difficulties to create automatic systems of information services for our population. It is important to correlate all these data and to make them precise, to coordinate the physical coordinates with what is registered. In Kyrgyz Republic, there are different agencies which have different approach to data. There is no unified data platform, and that is why it is very difficult to compile only information within one place. And that is why back in 2022, our Cabinet of Ministers accepted a program of developing these principles of unified database of data concerning location in this space, and we have to make it very accessible. They should have all the necessary data, and it is necessary to use this data. Everybody has to use this data, and we should also keep them current, keep them relevant, have to update them all the time. The major components of this database is unified standards and unified rules and regulations of providing data, searching for data, metadata necessary for search of the necessary information, and we should have standardized web services, and there should be a portal which allows the users to have access to the data. Besides, it is necessary to update all the legal regulations and laws. For us, the major work is to integrate information from different resources. At the moment, we have a GeoPortal, and it works in testing mode. We have information over here on just a second, please. Information from several authorities like the Ministry for Emergency Situations and the Agency on Land Resources and other federal authorities or nationwide authorities. This portal is subdivided into several categories: flora, fauna, limits of the territory, relief, and other very important categories. And to create such data, the most important instrument is mapping the territory. We digitalized the necessary amount of territories of the Kyrgyz Republic, for example, Chuy territory, Bishkek city, and we have all the ortho-photo plans, and we work with those plans, having received all the necessary permits and complying with all the regulations. Thank you very much. And as we are all from different countries, all of us would like to manage the data in a very transparent way. And I would like to ask you a question. I know that your country has been studying international experience in managing these kind of data, and I would like to ask you, what useful have you found while studying Russian experience managing data, and do you see any prospects of studying some Russian experience of managing the data? Yes, we have been in contact with our colleagues in Russia, and yes, they do have a very interesting experience. For example, today I learned the idea of digital twins, and I think we will be able to do the same, and I think it's a very important work. Thank you very much, and we will keep sharing our experience, and we continue talking about increasing efficiency of data management, and we have the next speaker, Andrei Korolev, the head of the Department of Cadastre Systems of КБ Panorama. That's about geoinformation technologies, and today we think we will be able to hear the most relevant information from this agency. So the floor is yours. Just a second, I would put everything into order. So I hope you can hear me well. Today I have a twofold task. One part of my task is, of course, to advertise our agency. Can you hear me? Great. And the second part of my task is to share some ideas on using the spatial data and on improvement of such usage, increasing the efficiency of that usage. We've accumulated a lot of data of the sort. That's vector topographic cards, space photos, different matrices, different calculations, multispectrum photos, geographic coordinates, and lots of other things. And the major tool of producing such volumetric data is the information system. And a lot of instruments have been created both for mining industry, for civil engineering, and we've talked about civil engineering a lot, but apart from that, there is also environment, navigation, geological survey, agriculture, forestry. So any industry might need these volumetric or spatial data. And there should be different solutions for different purposes. A lot of solutions for such industries have been worked out by our organization. And here you can see that we have civil engineering, agriculture, and all the rest that I have mentioned. It is used widely both in our country and abroad. Kyrgyzstan, Vietnam, India, Indonesia, Algeria, other countries. And I would like to tell you about one of our, well, it's not actually know-how, but we've been implementing artificial intelligence for quite a while. Everybody works fast in this direction. Everybody says that there can be a universal artificial intelligence, a unified one. And right now, on the basis of the software we created Panorama Vision. We still have two models deciphering agricultural data, either using the client data or using data from open sources. And the second is deciphering hydrographic data. We're going to keep on developing that, and we're pretty successful so far. The accuracy is very high, even if we used only open sources. So in general, in Russia, there are many volumetric systems or spatial systems which deal with spatial data, and that is the cadastre map and the unified cartographic portal and the federal portal of volumetric data and the territorial planning maps. And if we go down to the regional levels, there are dozens of projects We participated in some of them, including the federal foundations for spatial data and regional foundations like that. We participated in work of many organizations. And here some specific features I would like to draw your attention to. All these systems I've been talking about are being developed in parallel. Every owner of every system accumulates their data for themselves. They may buy such data or get it somewhere, but they do not want to share this data. But we've got an idea if we can use and reuse such data, although I do not know how to resolve that politically or economically, because technically speaking, it's very easy. You can create the necessary interfaces and the necessary software for cooperation between different sources of data. And while you creating a new system or improving the additional systems, you don't have to buy new data or convert this data into some internal domestic formats. You will be able to have access to universal database. That would be great to have such a direct access, and that would first cut down the costs of integration of your system, and second, it will give the opportunity for the instrumental GIS services to develop. When I was speaking about, for example, separately agriculture, civil engineering, forestry, the owner of the information system will be capable of receive data for their system much easier and will be able to receive it from several systems at a time. Right now, yes, you can receive some data from some organizations. You can receive a limited amount of information from publicly accessible register information, but of course we would like to have more of it so that owners of spatial data could give more access for everybody who would like to use it. Yet another thing is security. I have to speak about security here. All of us know that the country moves over to the digital sovereignty, and it includes software, and there are specific laws being worked out, and the federal, the municipal, the regional authorities simply have to be secure. Right now, we have technical aid and assistance provided to different federal and regional systems, and we can see it very often that they are checked and rechecked by the law enforcement agencies, and they are checked for vulnerabilities, and all the software should be certified. So there is a lot of work to be done to replace undeclared software with locally developed software. Only locally developed software should be used in federal and regional systems. So, on the one hand, it should be very accessible, the data should be very accessible, and on the other hand, the data should be secure. Well, thank you very much for your attention. Thank you, Andrei. I would like to ask you a question. As your company has colossal experience, and I believe that all representatives of the registering community understand perfectly well how huge a contribution you made into our market, but tell us, please, which peculiarities of developing of this market can you see? How the market of spatial data is developed? What should we expect? Can we be optimistic about that? Artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is the trend, and we will have to watch it, how it will be used. For example, the easiest thing is automatic deciphering. Then today it was mentioned that we can have digital twins, and here there are so many opportunities open up. There will be not an operator, human being, looking at the model of the city, looking for the ways, for example, to put some route. No, the operator will be asking a question to the artificial intelligence, and the artificial intelligence will provide, for example, 3 different options of putting, for example, a pipeline somewhere in the city. And yes, I've forgotten to mention that this data can be used for training of neural networks and artificial intelligence. When we have deciphering of agricultural data and hydrographic data, hydrography was done by open sources, and agricultural data was partially made from open sources, and we also begged for some private information from the owners of those sources. And of course, it was done unofficial, and we had to train artificial intelligence to see such simple things. But if we had laws, if we had legal regulations, decrees, allowing us to reuse the spatial data which somebody had already accumulated, if we had direct access through program interfaces, then it will be much easier, much faster to teach artificial intelligence new models. Thank you very much. I would like to talk to you later on about automatic deciphering, because many subjects of the Russian Federation next year will have to conduct a lot of work in this sphere. As Zaur said, pictures taken from aerial vehicles will have to be used. So yes, we are going to use a lot of information like that. Thank you very much. Then the improvement of efficiency of management in current conditions. There is Yekaterina, the head of the Committee on Managing.
Hello, good afternoon, dear colleagues, dear forum participants. Under the current circumstances, as at the federal level, the state public services need to be provided to the population faster. It's clear that it would be impossible to do that without information system. The Volgograd region has been doing consistent work to create and systematize information systems in our region. And information systems that we use include, firstly, an electronic atlas of the Volgograd region, an information system of urban development activities, and a state information system of monitoring agricultural lands, the so-called agro portal. Next, we have an investment map of the Volgograd region. We have a service called Land for Construction and a service called Land for Tourism. The above-mentioned services store quite a lot of data, including topographic data such as borders of regions, districts, settlements, water bodies, related addresses, including real estate properties and land plots. It includes face photographs and data from the Unified State Register of Real Estate. So over 200 layers are used in this electronic atlas. The information was provided to this atlas from 19 executive authorities. In this electronic atlas, you can very accurately find the administrative facility, that it's transport accessibility, if you are assessing its investment potential, and so on. This electronic service also makes it possible to provide to subsidize categories of citizens who want to select where it would be convenient for them. So it's kind of a very manual. We would like to create as many public services as possible electronically. Currently, we provide 17 such services electronically via the public services portal, and we continue our cooperation with the Ministry of Digital Development to digitize the remaining 4 services specified by the committee. The next major system is a state information system on urban development activity. According to the urban development legislation, all regions are recommended to maintain such a system. It was created in our region a while ago before such an instruction, and it accumulated and consolidated the previously collected data. We were developing this system for the comfort of our potential applicants. It's integrated with federal services, and it's possible to receive 100% of socially significant services in the area of urban development electronically. Of course, it's integrated with the Unified State Information System of Expert Review of Construction, documentation evaluation. This service is in very high demand among developers. Almost all construction permits and commissioning permits are received by our developers via this service. The Volgograd region is a major agricultural area. We created the so-called Agro Portal. It's a system that includes all information about agricultural lands, the title holders, the types of lands, whether the land is in use or not, if not, for what reason. These agricultural lands are continually monitored, and it's all accumulated on the portal. This system was created in 2015, and in 2019 it won the Profit IT prize in its area as the best program for territorial management in all regions. We are actively using up-to-date services like land for construction, land for tourism. We try to provide much information as possible, because land for construction and land for tourism, according to our gross register, is also information is also transferred to the public cadastral map. So we are expanding our offerings, and we welcome investors from all other regions to involve more lands into useful commercial activity. You can see the numbers on the slide. And now I'd like to share our plans. Just like our colleagues from Dagestan and 30 more regions, since July 2022, we've been part of the national program called the National System of Spatial Data, and we are supplying as much data as possible to the system. We have been doing it this year actively. We have already started pilot operation for ourselves and for potential applicants. This system already includes data from Agro Portal via the Unified Federal Information System, digital ortho photo plans. We're going to finish this work this year. Some lands were photographed with regional means, and we have agreed with the cadastral authority that by the end of the current year, over 90% of our territory will be covered by the currently up-to-date orthophoto plans, and the remaining 10% is not allowed to be photographed because we are in the south. So we are going to photograph them later. And of course, we upload data into the National System of Spatial Data from this OGD. Besides the data required by the construction legislation, we've been using data accumulated by municipalities over the previous periods. So we are submitting all this data to the Unified Digital Platform National System of Spatial Data. This is a very convenient service, and we have high hopes for that, for the authorities and for potential land users and title holders for real estate properties. Thank you. Thank you very much. Excuse me, I'd like to keep you here a little bit longer. We know that integrating databases and integrating this data at the level of rural settlements and municipal formations is very relevant. But some municipal formations or settlements, rural settlements, they manage their own properties as well they can, as best they can, sometimes on paper, sometimes in Microsoft Excel. So what are you planning to do about it? We have developed, we are using a state information system of accounting for public property. It has several segments. One of them is for authorities, where regional authorities are working, and it accounts for the properties owned by the region. It has extended features. Some information is entered into the system by bodies and institutions to which these properties are assigned, and of course all information about controls, supervision activities, inspections, and so on is in this system. And next, we have a so-called municipal module. That's a basic platform that accounts for the municipal property. We signed agreements with all municipalities in the Volgograd region who have free access to the system to take into account for the municipal property, to switch from outdated methods of keeping track of the property. Now municipalities are actively learning this system, and the region, according to these agreements, has the right to check the efficiency, as the number of real estate properties and land plots that are not involved in commercial use, and provide methodological assistance to municipalities. Thank you very much. It's great to hear about such achievements in this area. It's of course very important for the leaders of every authority to understand how many properties exist at which level. So many regions do not have this information, and sometimes information can be contradictory. And continuing the subject of efficient property management and efficiency assessment using digital tools, I give the floor to our colleagues from the Chuvash Republic, who have actually long outspaced their own region and helping other regions now. Sergey Nikolaevich from K Systems will now share his latest developments.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. It was very interesting. In Volgograd, there is this wonderful experience, and it reflects, I hope it reflects the direction where the regional systems go. And we also deal with management of real estate property, which is owned by the municipality or owned by the federal government. And there are different issues concerning finances. And basically, it's about efficiency. And you should understand that regional authorities, municipal authorities are right on venue, right on the stage, and they understand the real situation with real property, if you forgive the pun. And it's very important to think of the efficiency of management. And that is why we have to think of money all the time. And of course, that it is very necessary to think of digitalization. The first trend we think is hyper automation, using automation and implementing automation throughout the whole business process. So everything should be automated, and the body which manages real estate is very diverse, incredibly diverse. And there are separate legal services, there are several registering services, and this work being very diverse, of course, we have to deal with hyper-automation. So every single consumer should have everything very automated and digitized, and very often consumers and clients do not want to have it. They do not want to share their information, but without the help from us, it would be very difficult to increase this efficiency. Apart from that, it is necessary to achieve practical results, apart from the results which is understandable for our clients. For example, we used to write everything on paper, and now we are not writing everything on paper. We have everything on the computer, and now we spend less money. No, that's not the major idea of efficiency. No, we should maximize, for example, the income from the property, from the real estate, or to minimize the risks, minimize the costs, correctly understand the deterioration of objects, and understand how much we need to have. To be able to respond to those questions, we have to increase automation of our processes, and that can be linked not only with the work of our company, not because we automated something, but basically it will depend on our clients, on the authorities of the regions which give us those tasks. And of course, it entails a lot of issues which can be resolved by artificial intelligence. On our agenda, we have centralization of technologies, cloud technologies, and such technologies which would allow us scaling and dissemination of our solutions. And there is also an issue of integrating all the databases and all the sources of data. We have to integrate all different systems, and these problems of integration are very difficult to attract the financial authorities, to attract different agencies and institutions, and we have to take into consideration different assets on our register, how we can compile all the data, how we can run this data throughout the fiscal year when we compare all the fiscal results, then how the identification numbers are dealt with. And unfortunately, the processes are very different in different agencies. We looked at it whether we can trace the costs, and we finalized the ideas where we can improve our cost efficiency ratio. And of course, there are very serious issues of information security, cryptographic issues, and the paper flow, the document flow is very important. Our colleagues would say that the amount of papers we have to deal with is enormous, is huge, is incredibly high. So it will be a great thing if we cut down on the amount of paper and automatize everything. And all different information sources can be compatible. We should be capable of extracting data for different consumers. So to do any forecasting, in order to explain what we should do and how we should do and how to conduct things more efficiently, well, those are simple matters of efficiency. For example, they tell us, let's look at different contracts, whether we calculate all those contracts properly. So we should calculate how much we will receive if we pursue all the contract provisions absolutely correctly. Maybe we will get 2 or 3 million profit, but maybe it will take us 15 million to invest to be able to resolve such tasks. So we can be very pragmatic about automation and digitalization. So we should look at processes and try to improve the regulations. So the processes which go through different stages should compile data from different sources, and we should check the quality of data which is produced within this process. And then we should be very data-centric. For example, we have accounting over here. If we can control something, we should look both at the data and at the process of dealing with the data. Very often, when we deal with data, we speak of results only, but we should see the process, where the information goes, where the information is lost, and we should deal with the losses of information. So, for example, there are 3 different parameters. When we have relevant information, when we have full information, when we have true information, how can we check whether it is true or not? When dealing with accounting, when we compare the reports and the reality, we can see that sometimes the reports do not correlate with the reality. The further we go to the municipalities, there are more and more discrepancies. For example, they lack some data and they have to put everything by hand. So to decrease the risks of untrue information or irrelevant information, we should receive an objective figure of the financial situation, a trustworthy picture, and electronic digital processes will be able to do that for us. And what practical things we've been doing, apart from electronic document flow, we've been experimenting with the data management system. We provide all the necessary information, and the accounting goes further to the federal level. Then we conduct monitoring of real estate, monitoring the information present at the regional data, and we monitor also the quality of the accounting. And then you can trust this data rather than putting everything on paper by hand. So when the governor checks the information which is put over there by hand, we integrate everything with the accounting data. We can build a throughput process, and it gives very good results. When we have the life cycle from the primary accounting to the very end of the process, it improves the relevance and the truthfulness of data. A very interesting system, Decree 61N from the Ministry of Finance, it makes our life much more complicated. I do not know how expedient this decree is, but we have to perform according to this decree, using it in different documents. And we work together with our clients, of course, so you should look not only at our work, but we should look at the work of different regions. So if you're interested in that, we will demonstrate our own results, and we will give you other contexts of other people who deal with the same issues. So the most important thing I would like to say is that we should share our experience, how everything can be done. I'm not trying to sell any system to you. I'm just trying to say that we should share our experience and we should understand that digitalization should bring practical results. And that is why we should share our experience, even if we work with different systems. And thank you very much for your attention, dear colleagues. But I've got a question to you. Thank you very much for your presentation, and I can see that you work closely with financial structures, with local ministries for finances, with the federal agencies in terms of financial reports. Can you give me a couple of examples of regions where you work in automation of financing? Well, it's difficult to mention somebody. We've got about 38 subjects of the Russian Federation. So we have dozens of subjects. We can, for example, share the experience in Chuvash region where we do everything by ourselves. Then Murmansk region, we cooperate with them in very successfully. So depending on the context, depending on the specific tasks, I will be able to give you more specific answers. Thank you very much, and it's great that you look at the final purpose, that's the practical purpose. And the last report I would like to present, the final one, so that we stick to our schedule. To speak last is both the honor and the shame, and I will be the last. I will shoulder both the honor and the shame for that. And I would like to present our pilot project about zoning in terms of prices and complex development of territories. It is no secret that within the last 3 years, we've been working in Russia. Hundreds of thousands of families improved their living conditions. They moved from bad apartments into very comfortable apartments. And the more our industry moves to it, the more challenges we have. And our association, using these competencies we have, decided to make their own contribution to create institutions of just assessment and fair assessment. And on the basis of Republic of Buryatia in Ulan-Ude, we conducted a pilot project. Our task was, together with Peak Company, we've been talking about developing a center of our city. Will be taken some objects from the dwelling funds, and people will be moving from bad, dilapidated houses into good houses. And some citizens know that their houses will be brought down, and they try to increase the price for their apartment. In other cases, citizens cannot receive enough money to improve their dwelling conditions. To resolve this issue, for people to receive the necessary amount of money to improve their living conditions, we worked out this pilot project in the city of Ulan-Ude. So we gathered all the market information from open sources and all the prices, all the information on the bargains in the Federal Register, where they have information about selling and buying of apartments. Apart from that, we gathered all the information on the city of Ulan-Ude about the results of bargains. Artificial intelligence treated that information and calculated the cost of apartment depending on its location, whether the infrastructure is good around, and we receive this interactive map where everything is clearly seen. That's the maximum price and minimum price of an apartment throughout the whole city. And on the one hand, the federal authorities maximize the transparency of buying out land and real estate both from citizens. If, for example, the real estate is taken from the citizen by the state, the reimbursement can be compared to this program, and you can see how much you should have received for this property, or how much you could have received if your property was in a different location. And you can see the objective information, and you can understand that everything is done in a fair and just manner. And here how the interface looks like. That's our pilot project in the Buryat Republic, and we can see that the building construction, the civil engineering and construction companies can see how much money they can receive, how much profit they can receive from building on this or that territory. So this pilot project was conducted within a very short period of time, and it would have been impossible without automation, without artificial intelligence, without Rasko software. A lot of Russian companies deal with this software. Apart from that, last year we implemented a pilot project in Kyrgyzstan in the city of Bishkek. We evaluated apartments in the center of Bishkek, and it demonstrated that you can increase the amount of taxes raised by the state. So we hope that this pilot project is going to develop, and it can help different regions which deal with the same issues. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you, Iskander, and using the wording of your grandfather, that it's both an honor and a shame to give the final word, and that is why I will take the final word. I'm very happy to have seen all of you. We've raised very important issues, and life is moving forward. Digital technologies are developing actively, and right now we are at the stage where we have to start thinking about our future concerning different professions, different trades. Very soon we may not have as many cadastre engineers, but we need more and more engineers in civil engineering. So please, all these engineers should move into civil building and construction. So thank you very much, dear colleagues. And I thank you also on behalf of the government of our okrug. And I hope that the meetings we have here, the experience you receive while coming to Yugra for the first time, you should understand that every 20th ton of oil produced in the world is produced here in Yugra. You should understand that we have a huge potential, but we have a lot to move forward, to look forward to, and almost 1/4 of the profit generated by the Russian Federation is produced here in Yugra. And we are happy that you have participated in these discussions. We've been talking about our countries, our partners, and I hope that our cooperation will continue. And you can always see us as good friends, good partners who are always ready to share our experience with you and can always cooperate with you. If necessary, we will be happy to work with you. So thank you very much and have good luck and good continuation of the forum.